Peter is the disciple most of us identify with. We see ourselves in his tendency to waffle between the spiritual man and the carnal man. Like Peter, there are times we feel as though we have it all together and we could walk on water. And in almost the next moment, we sink like a stone. We do exactly what we swore we would never do. The result is we're overwhelmed with guilt and a sense of failure. We wonder if Jesus could ever love someone like me because we not only failed, we failed again. This is Tom Miller from Superior, Wisconsin. I'm pastor of Central Assembly, and this is yet another edition of Fuel for the Fire. It's volume 625, and it's called Kingdom Value. It's vitally important for us to realize, like Peter, we can be forgiven even after some pretty significant foibles. But that cannot be the end of the story. If the work of the church was to go beyond the earthly ministry of Jesus, Peter had to realize not only was he forgiven, but he had kingdom value. He would not only be ministered to, he could be used to minister to others. Peter failed many times. He didn't want Jesus to wash his feet. He sank in the water and Jesus had to bail him out. He was a little trigger happy in the garden and he lopped off a soldier's ear. And of course he denied Jesus 3 times after brazenly swearing he would never deny him. But all the while, something was happening within Peter. He was beginning to understand he really had kingdom value. And the realization he had kingdom value and the fact that Jesus loved him eventually enabled him to tap into his potential and allowed the power of God to flow through him in amazing ways. The wonderful result was Peter became all that God created him to be. After the resurrection of Christ, Peter became a bold preacher, evangelist, and missionary, and one of the great leaders of the early church. As I read Scripture, I have to remind myself, Peter in the book of Acts is the same guy we read about in the Gospels. The resurrection and the day of Pentecost confirmed in Peter what Jesus was trying to convey to him all along. He was loved by God and he could make a difference. Listen, it's simply not enough to realize you can be forgiven after all your mistakes, sins, and blunders. We must also realize we can be used by God for His glory. That's what it's all about. Kingdom value. Do you know that you have kingdom value? No matter where you've been, no matter what you've done, regardless of how many times you've done it, just like Peter, you have kingdom value. That's the way I see it. And that's a little fuel for the fire. And remember, I love you guys.